Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. I'm doing a night show today. I'm actually doing this on Sunday night. You're going to be getting this on Monday. I'm busy tomorrow, but I missed 2 days in a row, and I did not want to miss a third. So we are going to dive in. Got back from Marfa yesterday. Marfa, always just an awesome conference. I would recommend it for people who don't like to plan ahead for conferences, because the great thing about Marfa is you get there are a few hundred people there, and you got access to everybody. You don't got to worry about getting into different events. It's just kind of everyone gets into everything, and you talk to people on the street. You see everybody ranging from Snowfro to Sam Spratt to Frank was there, Thread Guy, but also just everyday collectors who have a ton of insight in this market, all just kind of hanging out on the street, talking to each other. Really good event. I really like it. And the reason it's small is because it took me 10 hours to get there, even though, an airplane would take 2 hours to get there. So pretty cool stuff. But let's dive right into the market. I've missed a couple of days. Want to kind of go over what's been going on, but mainly in the art market, because there are a bunch of cool things there. We'll also talk about Friend Tech and a couple other things. Starting off with a quick market overview. This is kind of a longer term look, about a 200-day chart. And you can see we're just on such a trend lower in volumes. The weekend was basically in line with where we've been over the past couple of weeks. Prices continue to be weak, kind of pretty flat, but down towards the lows that we've been in a couple years. If you look at where the strength was, you did have some strength in Pudgy Penguins, as well as Moonbird's World of Women, and then some weakness in Milady. Let's look at that Pudgy Penguin chart. Floor all the way up to about 4.75. Pretty much the strongest it's been going back to early summer. So love to see that against the bear market backdrop. And then World of Women, just popped off up to 1 ETH floor. It's been for the past 4 months kind of trending in this 0.6 to 0.75 ETH floor. So that is awesome to see as well. And I also want to talk about Nakamigos. As we know, they're dropping Nakamigos cloaks. That happened a few days ago. What this chart looks at the end there, you see that blue. That's the cloak floor price. It looks at the combination of Nakamigos plus cloaks. I think the reason you want to do that is because Nakamigos all got a cloak for free. And you can see that we're at 0.3 ETH when you look at the combination. Cloaks at 0.1, Nakamigos around 0.2. So that's basically kind of towards the higher end of the range for where they've been over the past summer. So nice to see that after all the negative energy that came when they first announced cloaks. If you look at cloaks, there was one sale. It's on the upper left. It's Yin Yang, sold for 8 ETH. That was the top sale. Then one for 4, one for 3.95, one for 3.69. So you've had some pretty nice sales for some of the cloaks. What you can see is these corners have red, green, and blue lines. And that red one is the power strength. The green is speed agility, and the blue is wisdom magic. I'm not sure what it means. I don't even know what it means. I don't know if they're making a game, what that's relevant for, but that is something that is interesting to see. You can see this Yin Yang had a 0 for power strength, still sold for 8 ETH. A little bit more of the details. 15,000 mint or 113 minted for free. The remainder paid 0.05 ETH. That's 244.3 ETH that was raised by the team. Seems like a reasonable amount, and nice to see the team making that money. And then $700,000 was left on the table. What do I mean by that? 20,000 owners could have minted this for free. 4,887 decided not to, or forgot to, or I always forget to do this. So I'm very familiar with this forgetting process, but that was $700,000 that were left on the table. Looking at the mid-cap index making new lows, just trending lower and lower. And then I wanted to talk about Friend Tech basic stats. Well, you can see here, this red line is ETH NFT volume. The blue line is Friend Tech key volume. You can see that over the weekend, going back, actually, it was really Thursday, Friday, ETH NFTs did more volume than Friend Tech keys for the first time in a while. That reversed again over the weekend. The Friday airdrop was very well received by the market, and prices started to rally after that. Let's have a quick look. This is a chart that OX, Captain Levi, put out. He's one of the top influencers in Friend Tech. What I want you to look at, though, what this basically looks at is the amount of ETH people have on the platform relative to the amount of points they got for last week for their airdrop, potential airdrop, we think airdrop. And what you can see is this account on the right was very famous for buying a ton of his own keys. So it was all kind of self-buying, ton of ETH on the platform, and really did not get a lot of airdrop points. And I think that what that basically was symbolic of is that people who buy their own keys, that is not going to work for the airdrop going forward. What you saw then was a lot of ETH got redeployed into other people's keys, and you really saw a pretty strong rally. This here looks at the key prices, kind of an index of the top 250 key prices, and you can see that we're back to pretty close to all-time highs. So the Friend Tech rally continues. Art Blocks Index. I want to throw this in. I talk about Art Blocks. I was just at a Art Blocks event. Kind of has been pretty weak. We got a ton of strength in Art Blocks after the original Sotheby's auction when the goose went for $6 million and change. And you can see that right there. But ever since then, you can see that the overall Art Blocks Index has fallen off. And I take it back. It wasn't the one where the goose was. It was the one before then where a Fidenza sold for $1 million and just kind of put a lot more attention back on Art Blocks. And we're kind of back to where we started before then. In terms of sales over the weekend, nothing over the past 24 hours did more than 10 ETH of volume, but let's look at some of the big sales over the weekend. You can see here was a nicer squiggle that sold for 10.1 ETH. Here's a Fidenza that sold for 53.8 ETH. Very cool Fidenza and pretty low price for that, I'd say. A couple Life in West America trades. This one for 4.5, and then a Harvest, a very nice Harvest by Per Christian, sold for 6.5 ETH. Second thing to talk about, I want to talk about the Matt Kane auctions of the Anons, which concluded because I haven't done a show since then. As you remember, this is what the Matt Kane Anons looked like. He took one image and then did kind of all sorts of processing in detail on them. Each piece, going back to the art, starts with a vintage photograph, an Anon whose memory would otherwise fade, and he wants to immortalize them on the blockchain, adds color and processing to create more story around the image, and then dives into detail through recursive algorithms. But if we look at where the prices were, the top four, the original portrait sold for 30, 18 and 12 ETH, 90 ETH total. So just massive prices for these original Anons. And then as you remember, each individual Anon gets kind of all these derivatives of it, changes to it. And those sold for a little bit less, but we still had a lot of sales, as you can see here, for more than 3 ETH. These were the two biggest non kind of main image sales, one for 12, one for 7.25 ETH. If we sum it all up, 36 NFTs sold, 4 were Anons, 32 were multitudes, which is the derivatives, over 214 total ETH raised. No secondary volume so far. The floor is at 20 ETH. So congrats to Matt Kane and congrats to the buyers on that very cool stuff. Third thing to talk about, beef Brothkos. Okay, I got the great pleasure of meeting Die with the Most Likes when I was in Marfa. What a guy. His art is so satirical and funny and all over the place. But as a person, just great, nice, lovely person to get to meet face to face. And the last night of the event of Marfa, I wasn't there for this, but he did a drop and then he turned the entire glitch gallery run by Derek Edwards. He turned that entire gallery into a barter place where people could barter for various different things. Here's the drop that he announced that was called Beef Brothko, 0.0369 ETH mint, did 666 of them. For those of you who are not familiar with Rothko, this is what Rothko art looks like. This is what a beef Brothko looks like. So you can see it really kind of incorporates the beef broth or the beef, ground beef. He's obsessed with ground beef. And he explained why he's obsessed with ground beef kind of as something to be satirical about. He says it's the entire existence of an animal pulverized and wrapped into plastic saran wrap and sold at a discount at Kmart. So that's kind of something that he thinks is like the core of his satire. And ground beef is a core theme in a lot of his work. This is what the beef Brothkos looked like. Here he is at the lab. He always does that kind of chin thing. Glitch, Transient Labs, both involved in this piece. And he wrote a very long description, which he later said in a tweet is one of his favorite pieces of writing. He's actually written 4 books, but he wrote a very long description, long for a description, not really that long, I guess. It's like a paragraph and a half. There is no abstract or figurative or method or revolution or artist or collector for that matter. And most of what we make or acquire will be mercifully forgotten in the puncture holes distributed by dull bayonets from a war that was never fought. Read the whole thing. I think in the descriptions with Die with the Most Likes, that's where you kind of see a little bit more of his message, a little bit more of the soul of what he's getting at. So I'd recommend reading that. All you gotta do is look at the OpenSea page, but a little bit of the details of how this has gone. Yeah, it's an AI art collection. There are 666, all at 0.0369 ETH, and it's already done 120 plus ETH of volume, and the prices have gone from 0.0369 to 0.37 right now, and it'll be different by the time you see this tomorrow. But here's where it started on that 0.05, kind of rose, tried to water, and then really pumped up to 0.42 and kind of hung out in that 0.37, 0.38 range. So congrats to Die with the Most Likes. Awesome to see this. Here were the 3 biggest sales: one for 0.69 and one for 0.67 ETH. And then lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales since we last spoke. Lost in the Supermarket by Defaced, bought by Woodmere Club Capital, a big buyer of Sam Spratt art. This one went for 30.6969 ETH. We talked about this at length last week, so I'm not going to go into details, but congrats to Defaced. Just an awesome sale and a huge number. this piece called the Urinary Odyssey by Botto, buyer bull.eth for 7.1 ETH. Very cool piece by Botto Project. Another big sale from them. This one, SerSingularity by ACK Alpha Centauri Kid for 20 ETH. For those who don't know, ACK has his own PFP project kind of page with like 10 PFPs, and this is one of them. There's 9 total. Here are 8 of the PFPs on this page. I think these are like some of the most grail PFPs there are. The one in the lower right, of course, is Alpha Centauri Kid's PFP, but just awesome work, and definitely what I would see as like a true grail to make one of these your PFP. So cool to see one of those trade for 20 ETH. And then Zenith by TimboSlice. I want to throw this in because I talked about TimboSlice. One of the top drone photographers in Australia had this sale for 2 ETH. Sold to my old colleague Spartan Black, Kelvin Coe, a guy I worked with at Goldman Sachs in Asia back in 2010. But he's off doing really good stuff. They do really good stuff as in a crypto fund, doing a lot of investments. So cool to see that sale as well. That is all for me today. I got a lot more to talk about, and I got stuff to talk about this week. Really interesting stuff that I learned about the squiggle. Some controversy that we're seeing there. I'm going to talk about that this week. A huge fundraising, over $30 million, I believe, for proof of play. Just a lot more going on. So a lot more topics that we will talk about when I'm back tomorrow and the rest of the week. Hope you're all having a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. Give us a like. Tell us what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back tomorrow with hopefully a little bit more light. You'll be able to see me a little bit more light, but we'll be back with another show. Have a great day.